Hey everyone, it's Mr. Alviar. So tonight is the final two chapters of the miraculous journey of Edward Tulane, which is why my Bitmoji's dressed in a bunny suit. I don't really know why I did that. Sorry. Your eyes will never be able to unsee that. Just saying. Anyhow, we last left off. Actually, before I start, I just have to say I'm feeling a little pretty darn sad, because this is the last night. I don't know how you feel, but I've been enjoying reading to you. Not that I have to stop reading to you. I guess I could continue with another book over the summer if that's something that you would want me to do, and I would be happy to do so. Just let me know. But I'm sad because this could be the final night of me reading to you. And I know that me reading on video camera is not the same as me reading to you aloud in person in the classroom. In that environment, it becomes so much more. It becomes personable or personal. Because we're there sharing the moment, and for me, reading it just makes me feel all the more passionate about reading to you. Not that I'm not passionate reading on video, because I pretend that you're there, but it just feels so much better when we're together. Yeah. I hope that you have gotten something out of these read alouds. Typically I stop and we talk, and we talk about figurative language, and we think about what's happening in the story and make predictions, and we weren't able to do that. This book would have been amazing to read together in class. There's so much to it. There's so much depth. Who knew? I'm really glad that I was brave enough to venture out and find a different author to read, a different book. So thank you, Wesley. Yeah, you, Wesley D, and Wesley D's mom. Thank you for letting me know about this book and the author as well, Kate D. Camillo. I appreciate that. I have enjoyed this book, and I'm definitely going to be adding it to my collection of read-alouds. Whew. It's been a long day. It's been a very interesting last part of the school year. I'm like I said, I'm pretty darn sad about it. I don't even know what to say. I don't even have the words. Yeah, for once I'm speechless. Scarlett, for once I'm speechless. If you can imagine that. Anyway, hey, what can I say? All right, let's begin. We left off with chapter 25. And at the end of chapter 25, Edward says something really concerning to me. And I don't know if you caught it, but it definitely, it kind of got me right there, you know? He said, I'm done with hope. I'm done with hope. Hope is something we've talked about all school year long. And you know what it means. It's the belief that you can make the future better, right? That you have the power in you to make your life better, right? That's what hope is. And Edward has given up. He doesn't believe that he can make his life better, that the future will be better and can be better. Don't ever give up hope. When you give up hope, you become that person that is sad and a person who just feels the world is on their shoulders and 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 you can't, or that nothing will make it better. I've had some pretty tough times in my life, some real tough times. And if I didn't have hope, if I didn't have that belief that I can make my world better, that people around me can help me make my world better, that I have what is inside of me to change what is currently going on and to make small steps towards making my world better, then I would have been a pretty darn sad person. There was a teacher who taught at Griffin School, and she retired, and I took her place when she retired. I took her spot in third grade. And I have a lot to thank her for. She inspired me in many ways. Mrs. Wozniak was her name. When I was down and feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders, she sent me some books, and those books inspired me. I sat up all night long one night. All night, I started reading it at around 9 o'clock at night, and I read it all night long. I wasn't even tired. It was so inspiring and uplifting that I just had to find out what happened at the end. It was a fantastic book. So thank you, Mrs. Wozniak. And the other book you sent me too was very uplifting. I appreciated it, and I still appreciate it. And Edward, let's get back to Edward. He's given up. I hope that this new neighbor he's standing next to on the shelf will inspire him. Let's find out. Chapter 26. There you are, milady. Meet the rabbit doll, said Lucius. The doll mender walked away, turning out the lights one by one. In the gloom of the shop, Edward could see that the doll's head, like his, had been broken and repaired. Her face was, in fact, a web of cracks. She was wearing a baby bonnet. "How do you do?" she said in a high, thin voice. "I'm pleased to make your acquaintance." "Hello," said Edward. "Have you been here long?" she asked. "Months and months," said Edward, "but I don't care. One place is the same as another to me." "Oh, not for me," said the doll. "I have lived 100 years, and in that time I have been in places that were heavenly and others that were horrid. But after time you learn that each place is different, and you become a different doll in each place too, quite different." 100 years, said Edward. "I am old." The doll mender confirmed this. He said, as he was mending me, that I am at least 100 years, at least 100 years old. Well, Edward thought about everything that had happened to him in his short life. What kind of adventures would you have if you were in the world for a century? The old doll said, I wonder who will come for me this time. Someone will come. Someone always comes. Who will it be? Well, I don't care if anyone comes for me, said Edward. But that's dreadful, said the old doll. There's no point in going on if you feel that way. No point at all. You must be filled with expectancy. You must be awash in hope. You must wonder who will love you and whom you will love next. I'm done with being loved, Edward told her. I'm done with loving. It's too painful. Push, said the old doll. Where is your courage? Somewhere else, I guess, said Edward. You disappoint me, she said. You disappoint me greatly. If you have no intention of loving or being loved, then the whole journey is pointless. You might as well leap from this shelf right now and let yourself shatter into a million pieces. Get it over with. Get it all over with now. Well, I would leap if I was able, said Edward. Shall I push you? Said the old doll. No, thank you, Edward said to her. Not that you could, he muttered to himself. What's that? Nothing, said Edward. The dark in the doll shop was now complete. The old doll and Edward sat on their shelf and stared straight ahead. You disappoint me, said the old doll. Her words made Edward think of Pellegrina, of warthogs and princesses, of listening and love, of spells and curses. What if there was somebody waiting to love him? What if there was somebody whom he would love again? Was it possible? Edward felt his heart stir. No, he told his heart, not possible, not possible. In the morning, Lucius Clark came and unlocked the shop. Good morning, my darlings, he called out to them. Good morning, my lovelies. He pulled up the shades on the windows. He turned on the light over his tools, and he switched the sign on the door to open. The first customer was a little girl with her father. Are you looking for something special? Lucius Clark said to them. Yes, said the girl. I'm looking for a friend. Her father put her on his shoulders, and they walked slowly around the shop. The girl studied each doll carefully. She looked Edward right in his eyes, and she nodded at him. Have you decided, Natalie? Her father asked. Yes, she said. I want the one in the baby bonnet. Oh, said Lucius Clark, you know that she is very old. She is an antique. She needs me, said Natalie firmly. Next to Edward, the old doll let out a sigh. She seemed to sit up straighter. Lucius came and took her off the shelf and handed her to Natalie. And when they left, when the girl's father opened the door for his daughter and the old doll, a bright shaft of early morning light came flooding in, and Edward heard quite clearly, as if she were still sitting next to him, the old doll's voice. Open your heart, she said gently. Someone will come. Someone will come for you. But first you must open your heart. And the door closed, and the sunlight disappeared. Someone will come. Edward's heart stirred. He thought for the first time in a long time of the house on Egypt Street, and of Abilene winding his watch, and then bending toward him and placing it on his left leg, saying, I will come home to you. No, no, he told himself, don't believe it. Don't let yourself believe it. But it was too late. Someone will come for you. The China Rabbit's heart had begun again to open. Chapter 27. Seasons passed, fall and winter, and spring and summer. Leaves blew in through the open door of Lucius Clark's shop, and rain and the green, outrageous, hopeful light of spring. People came and went, grandmothers and doll collectors and little girls with their mothers. And Edward Tulane waited. The seasons turned into years. And Edward Tulane waited. He repeated the old doll's words over and over until they wore a smooth groove of hope in his brain. Someone will come. Someone will come for you. And the old doll was right. Someone did come. It was springtime. It was raining. There were dogwood blossoms on the floor of Lucius Clark's shop. She was a small girl, maybe 5 years old. And while her mother struggled to close a blue umbrella, the little girl walked around the store, stopping and staring solemnly at each doll and then moving on. When she came to Edward, she stood in front of him for what seemed like a long time. She looked at him, and he looked back at her. Someone will come, Edward said. Someone will come for me. The girl smiled, and then she stood on her tiptoes and took Edward off the shelf. And she cradled him in her arms, and she held him in the same ferocious, tender way Sarah Ruth had held him. Oh, thought Edward, I remember this. Madam, said Lucius Clark, could you please attend to your daughter? She is holding a very fragile, very precious, quite expensive doll. Maggie, said the woman. She looked up from the still open umbrella. What have you got? A rabbit, said Maggie. A what? Said the mother. A rabbit, said Maggie again. I want him. Remember, we're not buying anything today. We're looking only, said the woman. Madam, said Lucius Clark, please. And the woman came and stood over Maggie, and she looked down at Edward. The rabbit felt dizzy. He wondered for a minute if this head had cracked open again, if he was dreaming. Look, Mama, said Maggie. Look at him. I see him, said the woman. She dropped the umbrella, and she put her hand on the locket that hung around her neck. And Edward saw then that it was not a locket at all. It was a watch, a pocket watch. And it was his watch. Edward? Said Abilene. Yes, said Edward. Edward, she said again, certain this time. Yes, said Edward. Yes, yes, yes. It's me. What a lovely ending. Edward, back with Abilene after all those years. Hey, what can I say? Woo. There's a coda. And if you don't know what a coda is a closing. It's kind of like a summary that kind of just ties everything all together. And I've got to read it. Let me read it to you. Coda. Once, there was a China rabbit who was loved by a little girl. The rabbit went on an ocean journey and fell overboard and was rescued by a fisherman. He was buried under garbage and unburied by a dog. He traveled for a long time with the hobos and worked for a short time as a scarecrow. And once, there was a rabbit who loved a little girl and watched her die. The rabbit danced on the streets of Memphis. His head was broken open in a diner and was put together again by a doll mender. And the rabbit swore that he would not make the mistake of loving again. Once, there was a rabbit who danced in a garden in springtime with the daughter of the woman who had loved him at the beginning of his journey. The girl swung the rabbit as she danced in circles, and sometimes they went so fast, the two of them, that it seemed as if they were flying. Sometimes it seemed as if they both had wings. Once, oh marvelous once, there was a rabbit who found his way home. Goosebumps. Can you see it? Oh my, oh my. Kate DiCamillo, you know how to write a book. Goosebumps. Hey. It's the end. I miss all of you. I miss being in the classroom. I miss I miss sharing moments with you. I hope you all have a great summer. I hope we're done with this quarantine when school starts so I can give each one of you a hug. I miss you all. Once was a teacher who got to be with his students every day.